To begin with, if you could please silence your cell phones so that we don't get any disruptions during the course of the meeting. And our invocation will be offered by PCSO Chaplain Joe Samog. Is he here today? Okay, if we'll just do a moment of silence. Following that, we'll ask Supervisor McClure to give our Pledge of Allegiance. Those who wish to join, please stand. Okay, thank you.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We'd like to welcome you to the Pinal County Board of Supervisors meeting dated December 4th, 2024. This is our regular meeting. To begin with, we have Supervisor Kavanaugh on the phone. Is that correct? Supervisor Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Okay. And the rest of us are present in person. So item number one, I need to make note of that and make sure everybody's aware of that. Item number one, County Manager's Report. Leo.
Good morning, Chairman. Thank you. Just a few announcements. One, I think, well, you all know, but for the public's awareness, too, there'll be a swearing-in ceremony on December 18th in the afternoon, 2 o'clock upstairs. So after the board meeting and after lunch, we'll have that. And then something that we had been working on with the Arizona City County Management Association is a management academy to develop those that lead and want to be future leaders in local government. And we did have our finance director, Angie Woods, and our county engineer, Chris Wanamaker, go through that. They have one more session. They'll almost be done. They'll be graduating. And then in next year's, we're going to have Celeste Garza, our deputy director in development services, go through it in the next year. And I think people are really appreciative and have high reviews of that. We're also working on exploring fellowships that we could do with Arizona State University and their School of Public Affairs. And so hopefully you'll see more of that to come in the future. And then just to mention that I know all of you know, but for others as well, that former mayor of the city of Maricopa, Tony Smith, is going to be rolling off being the president of Pinal Partnership. And then current mayor and soon-to-be former mayor of Casa Grande, Craig McFarland, will be the president at Pinal Partnership. And as you guys know, I'm sure, and maybe have something to say, they both honored and were appreciative of Mayor Ed Honey, who passed, the former town of Marana mayor. I'm sure you probably knew him and dealt with him as well, but wanted to honor him and his family in passing. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Item number two, Supervisor Districts updates. Let's begin with Supervisor Kavanaugh, District 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have in Coolidge, I'll pass. The echo is too much.
Okay. Supervisor McClure?
I'm not ready for you yet, but I'll be there.
Okay.
Geez.
Let's go down to
Yeah, start down there.
Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have really an update for my district other than the Pinal County lost a former leader, former county supervisor, and a former mayor of Jimmy Kerr a couple of weeks ago, and attended his funeral yesterday. When they went through all the things that gentleman had done in Pinal County for almost 4 decades, it was absolutely amazing, and the things that he was on the forefront, the vision that he had, for the growth and particularly economic development of Pinal County was absolutely amazing to see what he really saw the advantages that could be brought to this community. So I know Jimmy served even on a commission for me up until just a few years ago. He was always engaged in public affairs, and he'll be sorely missed by his family and friends. So I just wanted to add that tribute to Jimmy. And last year I gave him the award that we'll be passing out today, so I think it was fitting. Anyway, thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Supervisor Surtee.
Just a reminder that there's going to be an open house at the complex where my office is, and it'll be all of the departments that are run out of that complex, including we've also brought over the city of Apache Junction. And, of course, these facilities belong to the people, so come see what you're getting for your tax dollars and how we can serve you. And that's the 12th in the afternoon.
Okay. Thank you.
Free pizza, I think, is what you said.
What?
Free pizza.
Full
Free pizza.
There will be free pizza. It's not free to me, but it is free to the people that come, yes.
Okay, so let's see. Tomorrow I'm attending Coalition to End Homelessness and Reentry Roundtable, which is an interesting thing it'll be here at the library in Florence. But it deals with the issues that people have coming out of jail and how you reintegrate to society and the troubles that they have. And it's very interesting. So going to that. Friday, fun evening over in Arizona City. It's a Santa fly-in. He comes in by helicopter. Reindeers aren't fed yet, so got to come by helicopter. And that's 5 to 7 at the fire district in Arizona City.
Okay. Are you coming in on that plane?
I'm going to be standing on the ground watching.
Okay. For District 2, I just would like to announce to the public that on the 9th of December, that's this Monday, at, I believe it's at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 6 to 8, will be a public open for the public to come to. We've been working with the State Land Department for several years now on giving entitlements to various areas. In this particular area, we're giving some entitlements, meaning some zoning guidelines for commercial and retail on state land, which is a pretty big need for us in the Santan Valley area. And so there's going to be a public meeting on Monday from 6 to 9, 6 to 8. Actually, tell it's done. Tell people or stop coming. We'll be there to explain what's going to happen in that particular region, in that particular area, and have some maps and kind of an idea for people to look at and give public comment in regards to it. Let's go on to item number 3. Supervisor Miller, you would like to make an announcement as far as your appointment of Jerome Sullivan, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jerome, I gave him a little razz this morning. I did not know that was his name because I've called him Jerry forever. We know him as Jerry Sullivan in the Casa Grande area. Grew up in Casa Grande. He was formerly the Parks and Recs director for the city of Casa Grande. And I've had a little challenge trying to fill that position, and I don't know who threw his name out there, and I reached out, and he is happy to fill that position. He is not here today. He called me this morning while I was driving over. He's under the weather. He has a cold, and he just doesn't want to expose anybody to it. But he thanked me for appointing it, and I think he'll be a great asset to that committee. So, thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Item number 4, presentation of certificates for district civic engagement, awards to the following Pinal County residents, community members who are making a positive difference in the community. This is something that we as a board decided some time ago that we need to recognize individuals from each of our communities in their efforts and their service that they render in their communities. And so we'll begin with Supervisor Kavanaugh from District 1. If you would like to speak about the individual that you nominated.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It just so happened that Supervisor McClure and I both nominated Kennedy Ivey. Kennedy Ivey was the head of the San Manuel Revitalization Coalition when I met him. And he was a young man. He had a lot of energy. He was trying to bring business and improvements to San Manuel, an unincorporated town in Pinal County. And I recognized he had some skills, and we hired him for a time in our office. And he did a great job. He left to try to help the town of Mammoth as town clerk, and before long came back to our office, and then was headhunted by a mining firm where he now works. So he served time in the military. He was in naval intelligence, and he's the kind of person, you know, people recognize for his skills, recognize for the community work that he does in improving San Manuel and bringing, before he got hired to bring mining to the area, he was doing that on his own. So really quite a person. So that's the person. Both Supervisor McClure and I didn't know each other were nominating him, and so we have two nominations for the same person.
Okay. Well, he must be a pretty good dude.
He is a good guy, and I would ditto the comments by Supervisor Kavanaugh. I think he summarized it very well.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. For District 2, I have Pam Kakavas. Pam, when I first took office, I don't know what event where we were at, but she invited myself and a member of my staff to meet with them. She had begun an organization, or she had an organization going called Triad that was a combination of local nonprofit organizations that were helping the seniors. Then she started up Sizzling Seniors. That was a pretty good, and that's still running today. And then she's helped other organizations. There have been many instances where constituents have reached out to our office needing support and help and wanting to know the proper resources that they could go to. And I could call on Pam, and she would send us in the right direction, where to go for this or where to go for that. Housing, it didn't matter what it was. Pam had the ability to point us in the right direction. Anytime that I've had a public, gathering in our community, Pam's always been there and been very supportive of the people in our community. She recently established a more senior super support network as a nonprofit organization that assists individual seniors with many of their needs that they probably are going to have at some point in their lives. If you haven't had a pleasure to meet Pam, if you'd stand up in the back there, she's always the kind of individual that likes to stand in the back and not really be noticed, but it's hard to not notice Pam because she's always anxious and eager to engage and serve. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
I know he's going to make this move over here.
You know what? I'm going to do it different. I'm going to use that one back right there.
Yes.
There we go.
You want me to duck?
I'm going to try to crop you out. And there we go. Nice looking. 3, 2. We're going to do a couple here. 3, 2, 1. Love it. Big smile. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Thank you.
Next one is Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to ask that Mr. Brutinel come up. I'm going to do my presentation from the floor, if that's all right.
You bet. You bet.
Okay. Good morning, Bobby. How you doing?
Oh, fine, thank you.
Okay. You know, Bob and I have been friends for over 50 years. He was probably the first man to befriend me when I came to Pinal County and work in construction. It's a real funny story about how we met and what happened that day. But and that's maybe I'll do that on a recording someday and tell that whole story because it's actually very good. Bob, I've nominated you for this award, not because you're 100, not because you were a Marine, not because you're one of the best plumbers around. You probably touched at least half of the buildings in Pinal County with putting plumbing in it. But I nominated you for this because of the citizenship that you've led this, or have always done and presented yourself in Pinal County. This man has helped more people than you'll ever know, and I was one of them. And he said he was given an award, a medal in the military, and he said he didn't know who nominated him, and he says, I was just doing my job. You know, that's how he's lived his whole life. When he's helped somebody, he was just doing his job. That's how he saw life. It was part of being part of that community and reaching out, and he put me under his wing, him and his wife took me under their wing at a time I needed it, and I'll never forget it. So anyway, you are very deserving of this award. Very deserving of it. Hang on a second.
Good. 3-2 McClure. Do me a little. There you go. Thanks. 3, 2. We're going to do it again. Nice smile. 3, 2. Love it. Thank you.
5:30. I take him to church every Sunday at 5:30, so he can pray the rosary, and then we catch up. So anyway, thanks. See you there. Thank you.
Supervisor McClure.
I deferred to Supervisor Kavanaugh, but I would just say of Mr. Ivy, he is one of the nicest people I've ever met up in San Manuel, and he's always willing to help everybody. He has a big heart, and he's always trying to help out his community. That's why I put him up there.
Is he here today?
No, he's not here today. He had to go work. He works at Red Hawk Exploration, copper mine up in they're based in, the heck are they based? It's up there. Anyway, San Manuel, Mammoth. The mine's in Mammoth there in San Manuel. Yeah, so.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Surdy.
In my district, on these proclamations, there's actually details, and I felt it important to read this one to put it into perspective. Whereas it gives the Pinal County Board of Supervisors immense pleasure to present this award to recognize Sandy Smith for her exceptional service and invaluable contribution to District 5 in Pinal County over the years. Whereas Mrs. Smith, a 54-year resident of Pinal County, has actively participated in the growth and development of Pinal County and the communities served by District 5. Whereas her dedication to the communities in District 5 is exemplified by the establishment of 4 successful businesses and nurturing a family within the community. Whereas Mrs. Smith's legacy as a public servant is commendable, having served as a member and or leadership role on over 55 federal, state, county, and local government commissions and task forces. Whereas Mrs. Smith's impressive service to Pinal County led to her election as the first woman in Pinal County to be elected to the Board of Supervisors. During her distinguished 16 years from 92 to 2008, she actively represented the interests and residents of the cities and towns of rural areas of District 2. Whereas her steadfast perseverance and dedication, Mrs. Smith played an instrumental role in making a positive impact on the community, leaving an indelible mark on District 5 in Pinal County. So I know in dealing with the community and social media, people hate it when elected people give other elected people awards just for doing their job. It's our job to do that. But serving on 55 different boards and commissions and charities, you don't get paid for that. That's above and beyond. And that's why she deserves this award. And since I've lived here in the 80s, there was never anything going on where she was not there and involved. And so that's why I thought it important that she get this award. So.
Nice smile. 3, 2. Love it. And again, 3, 2, 1. Love it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, supervisors, for giving a lot of thought and effort in this process. Item number 5, Purchasing Division Report. Angeline.
Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chair, members of the board, Angie Woods, Director of the Office of Budget and Finance, and it's my pleasure to present to you today our Purchasing Division Report for December 4th, 2024. The report includes two contracts that are being recommended for award, RFP 250930 for private 5G network, ROQ 251530 for job order contracting for residential contractors. The report includes 2 contract amendments exercising optional extension periods for your approval. And lastly, the board is requested to approve 1 cooperative purchasing agreement purchase order over the amount of $250,000. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Any questions? Supervisor Kavanaugh?
No questions.
Okay. Can I get a motion moving forward then?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the Purchasing Division report as presented.
Second.
We have a motion, second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Thank
It's
you.
unanimous. Thank you. Okay, item number 6, consent items. All items indicated by an asterisk will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda unless a board member, county manager, or a member of the public objects at the time the agenda item is called. So is there any board members that want to have anything pulled? Supervisor Kavanaugh?
No, sir.
City manager? Anybody from the public? What's that? I said county manager. No, I said county manager. How about just Leo? Anybody from the public would like to have anything pulled? if there's an item on the consent items that you want to talk about, then this is your opportunity, or one of the opportunities. Okay. Okay. Can I get a motion moving forward then?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve consent items A through AD as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? It's unanimous. Supervisor Miller, you might just make your 1 o'clock
I might make
appointment.
that airplane yet.
Okay, now we're on to item number, we're actually going to recess our Board of Supervisors meeting and open the meeting of the Pinal County Flood Control District. Is there any, let's look at this right now. We've got 2 consent items, and so all items indicated by an asterisk will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda unless a board member, county manager, or anybody from the public wishes to have an item pulled. I'll ask our board, anybody have anything pulled? County manager? Anybody from the public? Okay, can I get a motion moving forward then?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the consent items A and B on the Pinal County Flood Control District Board meeting.
We have a motion, do we have a
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, we're going to close the Pinal County Flood District, and we'll open now the Pinal County Public Health Service District. The items on the agenda are all consent items. All items indicated by an asterisk will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda unless a board member, county manager, or member of the public wishes to have the item pulled. Is board members? Nobody? Manager? Anybody from the public? Being that there are none, can I get a vote moving forward?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the consent items A through D for the Pinal County Public Health Services District Board of Directors meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And it is unanimous. We will now close the Pinal County Board, the Pinal County Public Health Services, and reconvene our Pinal County Board of Supervisors meeting. And now we'll move on to item number, did I do 8 already? Yeah, I did 8. Item number 9, call to the public. A call to the public is the time period for members of the public to address the Board of Supervisors to provide public input relating to subject matters within the Board of Supervisors' authority or jurisdiction. Those wishing to address the Board of Supervisors need not request permission in advance. Action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing our staff to study the matter or rescheduling it for a further consideration or decision at a later date. So I have, just real quick, when you come, if anybody that comes up, if you just please state your name and the general area where you live for the record, and then we'll just go from there. So I have one card, and that is L. Fuller, Mr. Fuller, Mrs. Fuller.
I'm Lori Fuller. I'm from Thunderbird Farms near Maricopa. And I'm a little nervous, so bear with me, commissioners, supervisors. I'm before you with a concern, a question. I know I'm not allowed to ask them, so I guess it'll be a hypothetical question, and a request. So we went before Planning and Zoning on October 17th regarding Sunset Canyon. Before Planning and Zoning were 2 distinct and separate zoning matters with their own zoning numbers. That meeting was packed. The agenda was full. Clearly, they were trying to get through things as quickly as they could. So my concern is regarding the two separate zoning items. One was increasing the density, and the other was reducing the commercial. We were, as members, as residents of that area, we were only allowed to speak once. We were not given an opportunity to speak on each matter. And the other thing was, the commissioners did not speak on density at all. They voted without bringing up a separate PZPD item. They did not speak on them. I know that then when they passed the motion, they clumped them both together, so they knew they were voting on both together, but they did not speak on them. The applicant had not provided any information because it was a continuance. And so he provided the information to them at 8 o'clock the previous evening. So they haven't even seen the updated plan. And then they didn't even discuss density, and they voted on it, which, I mean, whatever. But my concern is, as members of the public, we had to speak on both items at once, and then the commissioners voted without any discussion on density. So I guess my question is rhetorical. Is that even the way things are done? And then my request to you is both those items are coming before you today. I implore you. We live out there. We know what's going on out there. I know you guys do your best. You're 5 of you looking after the whole county. We know what's going on out there. Please allow us our 3 minutes to speak on each PZ item and zone change. There's 2 distinct zone changes. Please allow us to speak on each zoning item independently. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is it?
Yeah, she just spoke in regard to that.
Okay. Is there anybody else from the public? Mr. Rhett?
I'm Noel Reck from Eloy. There are several explanations for Project 2025. Number 1, it's fake and doesn't even exist. Number 2, Democrats wrote it to make Trump and Republicans look bad. Number 3, the Heritage Foundation wrote it, but Trump knew nothing about it. And number 4, the truth. The Heritage Foundation wrote it, and Trump knew and knows all about it. I've come before the board several times to illuminate its contents and dangers, requesting a proactive study. That request has not been taken up, but I will ask again today. To respond to my request, you need to have read it to understand how it will affect the country, county, state, and nation. I don't think that's been done, even in summary form. My dad instilled in me the idea of don't ask someone to do something that you wouldn't do yourself. So I've gone beyond the summaries to read and notate the entire 900-page document. I'm about 2/3 of the way through, 60 pages of notes so far. I'll be done in my notes word process by the next meeting. I'll be happy to share that with you if you wish to gain insight. My notes include no criticism, just a breakdown of the details and proposals. Some basic facts for today. There are 268 contributors, including the more extreme organizations I'm aware of, like the Club for Growth, the American Enterprise Institute, the American Legislative Executive Exchange Council, also known as ALEC, the Center for Renewing America, Hillsdale College, the Honest Elections Project, the National Center for Public Policy Research, the 1792 Exchange, and of course the Heritage Foundation itself, among many others I don't have time to list. There are 34 authors, 25 having direct ties to the first Trump administration, notable names being Ben Carson, Ken Cuccinelli, Peter Navarro, and Russ Vought. Others aren't as recognizable, but their ties to Trump are clear. Vought, a self-proclaimed Christian nationalist, the primary force behind the document, and recently nominated by Trump to be director of one of the most powerful government agencies, the Office of Management and Budget. There's no doubt Trump knew all about it or the reasons he distanced himself during the campaign. Its goal to combine or eliminate agencies completely, preventing the oversight as they dismantle the woke, Marxist, leftist, deep state, replacing it with a Christian nationalist regime. The disparaging labels being used interminably speaks volumes. At the last meeting, I provided examples of the danger it presents and questioned how the county would respond. Here's another. Tariffs are touted as a means for fair global trade. What about retaliatory tariffs and their effect on Pinal County agriculture. Another $28 billion bailout of farmers who lost their markets the last time around. There's so much more, but 3 minutes. To conclude, I asked Chairman Goodman to explain his refusal to entertain my request. Partisanship, personality conflict with me, or some other reason. I call on board members Surdy, McClure, and Miller to weigh in as well. Lastly, I call on all board members to address the antics of elected officials during these meetings. Chairman Goodman, you call for civility. This should start with elected officials. You taunting me from the dais or Assessor Wolf laughing and making faces as citizens speak is unprofessional, embarrassing, and shameful. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak? This young lady in the back.
Good morning, and thank you. Donna Johnson, Maricopa, Arizona. This morning I'm going to speak to you more or less regarding a couple motions that will be coming up, number 10 and 11. I'm going to address you as an ag producer, which I am.
Can I, just for a second, are you saying you're going to come and talk about the same thing?
No, I'm going to come from a different angle.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, what I'm asking is, what is at stake when you pave over, fragment, and otherwise fail to protect farmland from the disruption of development? And I just, as you go into your next session here, thinking about all these things with these new zoning laws, development, things like that, please remember that ag lands are essential for a resilient America for several reasons. Each state needs to secure a critical mass of high-quality farmland to ensure our food system. Just two of the reasons that all this farmland that's being eaten up for development means loss for habitat. It also increases pollution compared to what a farm would do. You have all this stuff. You're going to hear about infrastructure and all these other things. There's several reasons to be really vigilant in your thought process here, what you're doing to people's lifestyle, but also to the impact to the environment. Will this board help to protect what little resources we have left that is changing in America today? And that's basically why I'm here, to say that we really like our lifestyle. There's lots of reasons not to, but please think of this statewide, not just locally, statewide, globally, things like that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? I've got two officers in the back, so behave. Mr. Bean.
Thomas Bean, Pinal County, out of Casa Grande. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I did not plan to speak today, but the circumstances inspired me. You may remember 3 years ago was the first time that you awarded this Civic Engagement Award, and it was named the Roberto Brevelis Civic Engagement Award. A woman, I think it was at that same meeting, spoke up and said, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. You know, just name it the Civic Award." I spoke with several board members, and they said, "Oh, we're going to go back and change that. It is going to be the Roberto Brevelis Civic Engagement Award." I do hope that you will revisit that. Roberto deserves to have his name on that. You chose wisely when you made him your first recipient. I can't think of anyone better. I'm proud to say that two of the members that received the award today have been good friends over the last 50 years. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bean. Is there anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Dia Podolsky, and I live in Pinal County, the home of the Action Indian community, the Gila River Indian community, and the Tohono O'odham Indian community. And what I want, I guess it's a request, is the beginning of all your meetings, you start with an invocation, a pledge. I would suggest that instead of having one of you do the pledge, that you reach out to the American Legion, the Veterans of Foreign War, and get some former military person who would view it, I think, as an honor. My grandfather lied about his age to enlist to go to World War I. And it was a defining point in his life. He went on to become the chaplain for the National American Legion. I grew up selling poppies and decorating graves. But one of the things he loved was the beginning of the school year when he and his Legion buddies went to the school and raised the flag on the first day. I just think it would be an honor that you could give to people that would be easy and get more civic engagement, right? And just a suggestion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Ravelis?
Roberto Ravelis. Mr. Chairman, this is a time for respectful allegiance to truth, transparency, and accountability. I never tire of reminding us of that. As Ecclesiastes tells us in 3, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. In that spirit, I want to thank Kevin Kavanaugh with humility for initiating the Civic Engagement Awards that we've witnessed today. Also, for his daring to bring disturbing, costly, but challenging issues to the People's Board of Supervisors. Next, a warm embrace to Kent Volkmer for his dedication to the rule of law, despite the discomfort of those trying to bend the law for partisan gain. May he find other welcoming fields where he can plant the seeds of justice for others to harvest. To Sheriff Mark Lamb, in all candor, may he find time to heal from his legacy of promoting the big lie that has diminished trust in our constitutional institutions of governance. May he heal from opposition to enforcing COVID masking because of his sense of freedom that has contributed to the death of 33,000 Arizonans. While that same freedom of choice has thus far tragically caused over 6,996 deaths of Arizonans illegally consuming fentanyl, a drug illegally imported by suppliers from south of the border, responding to demand from north of the border. In the spirit of Ecclesiastes, I encourage the renewed Board of Supervisors to prepare for a new season of administration, espousing enactment of Project 2025 that includes eliminating federal resources for education, housing, infrastructure, including loss of grants being approved today under the consent agenda. This board faces massive new challenges by a morally challenged administration overwhelmingly approved by unquestioning Pinal County voters, an administration that promises mass deportation of immigrant families that harvest Arizona's crops, immigrants who build homes, immigrants who invest billions in Social Security benefits they will never receive, a new MAGA administration that promises destructive tariffs on Arizona's beneficial trading relationships with our Mexican neighbors. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and best wishes in the coming year.
Is there any others that would like to speak?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, staff, my name is Sandy Smith. I'm from Gold Canyon. I would like to thank you all today, and of course Supervisor Surtee for the award. I'll tell you, over the years, it has been my pleasure to be involved in the community and that I've lived in, plus Pinal County, and as you saw, state and federal. And believe me, I received as much or more internally as I gave. And I'd like to thank you all for your service to the communities that you represent. It's not easy in this day and age to be an elected official. There's a lot of different things that are going to come before you, and open meetings like this are where people can air. You've heard them today. They have a right to their opinion, and I appreciate very much the service that you are given. Again, thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Is there any others? Okay. Were you called out? Okay.
I'm fine.
Okay. No. All right. I didn't realize that a smile would be so offensive, or things of that nature, and I'm not going to apologize for it because I like to smile. I remember one of my fellow supervisors who sat to the right of me, and I sat right here, on several occasions got up and walked out during call to the public, Pete Rios. And I remember asking him one time, is that permissible? And I remember him telling me, there's nothing in the rules that say we have to sit there and listen to the criticism and things that are offensive to us. I learned a lot from that man. I've often said that Pete was more of a friend to me than others when it comes to, and he was a Democrat. He is a Democrat. And he is one of the most well-respected individuals to me. When I first took office, my older brother told me, he says, you need to lean on Pete. He knows what he's doing. He understands the process. And I found that to be true. And to me, Pete was a hero to me and taught me a lot in this position right here. And so with that being said, I have no other comments to make other than the fact of one of my fellow supervisors that was very respectful in so many different ways. Some people, I never heard anybody say anything about him getting up and walking out during those open to the call to the public sessions. And so with that being said, and I'm not sure we can monitor people's facial expressions, especially here on the board, or anything. And that you're asking, everybody's been talking about censoring. Well, that's a form of censorship. Supervisor Miller?
If you're finished,
I am.
I thought of something I wanted to bring up.
I do. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Okay.
I'm done.
I guess my name was brought up. The 2025 document, I know nothing of it, but I will take the time to look into it and form my own opinions on what's in it and what it says and what it means. I won't get to it right away, but I'll make the commitment to say that I'll look into it.
Okay. Thank you, Supervisor. Okay, we'll now close call to the public and move on to item number 11, or number 10. This is a public hearing and discussion, approval, disapproval on an ordinance number 2024 PZ-034-23. We have Zagita to kick it off.
Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chair, and board members. Sangeeta Devkar, Senior Planner, presenting the next case, Sunset Canyon Rezone and a bad amendment. The case numbers are PZ 03423 and PZPD 008-23. This proposal involves two cases, as stated. It's a rezone and a PAD amendment. The rezone entails 374.16 acres from CR3 pad and CB2 pad to R7 and C2 pad. Just to give a perspective of the old or the existing zoning that exists, there is a 350-acre single-family zoning existing on this, and a CB2 existing 24 acres of commercial zoning. This was rezoned back in 2003 under the case BZPD 03203. The request is for, as stated, R7 for 369.65 acres for the single residence zone, and C2 pad for 4.37 acres for community commercial zoning. The second case is the pad overlay for the same acreage, 374.016 acres. As stated, the total acreage is 374. Location is southwest corner of Val Vista Road and the John Wayne Parkway in Maricopa area. Owner applicant is Zeitlin Capital, Harry Zeitlin, Ham Sunset LLC, and we have the agent Brennan Ray from Birch and Crutchiello representing them. This is the county map location showing the proposals for the rezone and the PAD. One can see that it is in the west portion, central of Pinal County in the Maricopa region, south of the incorporated Maricopa, and further looking into the area map, one can see that it is marked by a red area. The south of that is a CR2 and largely undeveloped on all three sides. Further south is R7, the Midway, which is already rezoned, and to the north is the reservation, which is in brown. Further zooming into the same area, again, the area proposed is moderate low density residential, 1 to 3.5 dwelling units per acre. And the proposed density is a little over that, which is 4.06 dwelling units per acre. One can see the reservation on the east side of this, and further to the north, you can see the the same moderate low density residential. The aerial showing actually largely undeveloped land at this point in time, and these are, includes a couple of parcels, and it's along the 347 west side of that. A further zoning map showing the existing zoning, which is a CB2 to the northeast corner of this project area. And you can see that it's further to the south, is CR3 zoned. West is also CR3 zoned. To the north is portion is state land and GR zoned, largely undeveloped. And to the east, you can see that, again, the portion of the reservation land that has been coming up. And further out, opposite of the 347 is CB1 and multiple zoning on the eastern side. Proposed zoning, as stated, is R7 and C2 for the same area. Again, showing the existing and the proposed zoning exhibits, showing the portions that is requested for this proposal. And further south is the developed Midway. This is the map that actually shows the roadways access and the realignment of the Val Vista Road, which has led to the redevelopment of and the proposal for this with changes to this roadway access. And further looking into this, the development plan as proposed, considering the realignment of the Val Vista Road. This is showing the access to the development plan. One can see that it is access from Val Vista, Green Road, and the not directly from the SR 347. There's R7 zoning with 4 lot mixes that have been shown in this plan. Open spaces with 20.49 acre, percentage. Drainage to the east side and the north side. Just to give a perspective, this area does need to take care of the regional flows, and therefore this drainage channel, which is a large drainage channel along the 347 as shown in this map. TIA has been approved for the zoning case and would further be refined at the planning stages. This is the development standards R7 showing the setbacks and development requirements as per the R7 zoning. Site data actually shows total dwelling units proposed as 1,519 dwelling units. Density, as stated, is 4.06 dwelling units per acre, and open space proposed is 20.49. Some pictures along north showing, largely undeveloped land, and to the east and west. Some items for board's consideration. The total area is requesting is 369.65 acres for R7 and 4.37 for C2, which is the commercial zone. The comprehensive plan is moderate low density residential, 1 to 3.5 dwelling units per acre. Existing density was 3.5 dwelling units per acre, which already has an entitlement of 1,225 dwelling units as per the original case. And the proposed density is showing an increase of 300 plus dwelling units. 4.06 is the density requested. And the alternate land use provision has been used to promote mixed uses, not requiring a comp plan amendment. Public responses, this PowerPoint states no opposition emails after P&Z hearing. This was uploaded a week and a half back. However, last 2 days we have received over 50 to 60 emails in opposition for this case. And planning and zoning had approved 6 to 3, recommending approval with 21 stipulations as attached in the staff report. And I'm open for any questions. We also have a presentation from the applicant, and as stated, I'm open for questions at this point.
Mr. Chair, quick question.
Supervisor McClure.
Ms. Stoker,
Yes.
Can you go back to the one slide that shows the increase in dwelling units?
Yes.
I
Is this one?
couldn't copy it. There we go. Thank you. That's the one I was looking for. Thank you. That's it.
Supervisor McClure or Kavanaugh, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there a CC&R associated with this property? One of the emails I received last night about midnight said there may be some restrictions, and so if Sanjita can address that.
As far as I know, I am not aware of any CCNRs, but I would want the applicant to talk more on that.
For HOAs.
Is that something, council, is that something that we are concerned with or that we need to look at?
That's nothing that you really have an impact. It's the developer that has the choice whether or not to include CC&Rs at the time they develop that and put a plan.
Does that have anything to do with zoning issues?
Not at this point, no.
Okay. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Supervisor Biller.
Counselor, if I remember right, aren't the CC&Rs developed by the developer and put into the public, their public documents when they?
Absolutely.
And that's when you'll see the CC&Rs.
That's right.
After the subdivision is for sale.
After it's been platted and so forth, that the public is made aware of what those requirements are and the process to get anything approved or changed in the CCRs.
And that's developed by the developer.
Okay. Any other questions of Sagita? The applicant is here, right?
Good evening, Chair, members of the Board of Supervisors. Brennan Ray, 1850 North Central, here on behalf of the applicant. As has been indicated, this is a rezoning case and its update to a plan that's over 21 years old that was approved when there was considerable differences as to where we sit today with respect to home buying, home buyer preferences, and what's needed. We believe that these changes are necessary to improve the design of the community to reflect kind of people's expectations these days of it. And the changes certainly indicate a significant amount of change of improvements that have needed to address kind of two really significant concerns. One is the impact of regional drainage and flows through the site that have caused us to really reconfigure some things around. And the second big change is to the Val Vista Road alignment. But we believe these changes are appropriate given the site's location as you look at it along 347. And we would request your approval in accordance with the Planning Commission's recommendation. I'll be brief in my remarks as I believe there's a number of people that wish to speak here tonight. And I believe, just it should be noted that as we've gone throughout this process, we've reached out and worked with the neighbors and know that a number of the concerns that at least we've heard and the people that we've interacted with live in the Thunderbird Hidden Valley area that's, depending on how you look at it, 2 to 4 miles to the east of our development. That's the area that you see that's kind of developed with a bunch of different parcels off to the left as you look at it, which would be to our west. Did I say east?
You said east.
Thank you. To the west. Thank you for that. So this was the 2003 approval, and as staff indicated at the time, there was a little over 1,200 residential lots that were planned for it, and there was 20 acres, 24 acres of commercial that was planned at the hard corner of Val Vista and John Wayne. And certainly that is the appropriate location for commercial at the corner of two, really one major arterial and 347 John Wayne Parkway, which is a road of regional significance. I mean, it's a state route. And so where we are today is this change. And you can see that the effect of what I was talking about relative to drainage and the Val Vista Road alignment. What we've got is a significant drainage channel, regional flows that come in through this site that affect and really stack up on the east side of this site next to 347. That's why you've got that significantly wide drainage channel. Likewise, we have challenges on our north and on our west side where we have to accept the drainage. The drainage comes from the southwest to the northeast, and so we've got to channel it in and through the site. And again, I can go into more details about that, but know that that's one significant constraint. And then, as I mentioned, Val Vista Road, which impacts the location of the commercial. And I can go into more details. I know staff put up a slide that showed the Val Vista Road alignment cutting through our property. And the reason that it was cut through our property deals with primarily avoiding conflicts with the Ak-Chin community, which is just immediately on the east side of 347. And so in an effort to make sure roads go as they should, it cuts down through our site, bumps to ensure that there's good access running east and west as it goes. It passes through the Ak-Chin community, south of the Ak-Chin community, and then eventually bounces back up to its alignment further to the east. Again, I can go into a lot more detail about this if necessary. I mentioned the neighborhood outreach. This was the outreach that was conducted prior to us going to the Planning and Zoning Commission back in September. And as was indicated on a number of the emails, at least that I've seen recently, a lot of concerns about lifestyle, density, traffic, and water, which I'm happy to get into. With respect to the question that Supervisor Kavanaugh asked, I appreciate that CCNRs are not in the purview of your decision, but for the public who might ask, there are no CCNRs that govern this property and its entitlements and what it can and can't be. As Supervisor Miller indicated, that's something that will be forthcoming at the time that it actually starts to be developed. One of the things that we've tried to do our best to address one of the concerns is a rural agrarian lifestyle. Because we recognize that while not immediately adjacent to us where the Thunderbird and Hidden Valley is, nevertheless there are agricultural operations that do exist in the area. And the best way that we know how to provide notice is this very rather lengthy stipulation that is stipulation number 19. And effectively what it requires is we are to tell everybody, look, hey, guess what, in case you didn't know it, you're next to agricultural land, agrarian stuff where there's going to be noise, odors, dust, and things, and that they're, going to be there potentially indefinitely. And so we're to put it in the public subdivision report. We're to put it in purchase contracts, CC&Rs, and notes on the final plats for this disclosure statement. And that's the best way that we know how to notify and ensure that in case people didn't know, that there are those rural agrarian operations that exist in the surrounding area. And so with that, again, I can go into a lot more detail should this board wish, but we would recommend your approval in accordance with the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation for approval. Happy to answer any questions and share, board, if I may, if there's a need after the public speaks for me to come back up, I'd certainly like that opportunity.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Any board members? Supervisor Kavanaugh?
No questions.
Okay. All right. This is a public hearing, and there's actually two components to the point that was made by the young lady that came up earlier. You're welcome. The public hearing will actually hear both of them at the same time when you come up, okay? Doesn't mean that you have 6 minutes, okay? But pull together as much as you possibly can within that 3 minutes. I don't think anybody came here thinking that they were going to get 3 minutes per decision, but I think you can lump it up in one area. And I've got several names here, by the way, and I would imagine that we're going to hear the same argument multiple times because of the different comments that are going to be coming. So to begin with, Mary Eileen Flanagan. Did I say that right? You did. Oh, good. That's the first.
Hello, I am Mary Eileen Flanagan. I live at 4990 North Appaloosa Road in Hidden Valley, about 4 miles from where Sunset Canyon will be built. I'm opposed to both increased density and decreased commercial space. You might think 4 miles, well, that's not very close. But in a rural community of one home per 3.3 acres per home or more, it is dangerously close. Time and again, developers play the bait and switch game with the Board of Supervisors. The first non-resident company asks you to change from the existing zoning of more than an acre per home to 3.5 homes per acre and 15 to 30 acres of commercial space. Much of this was done pre-2008, so the nearby residents didn't even have a clue it was happening and no chance to voice their opinions. The comprehensive plan actually calls for preservation of our rural way of life. Please take the residents who are calling for a moratorium on crowded subdivisions seriously. As designed, the walls of the homes in 7 acres are only 4 feet apart. Please just say no to 7 houses per acre. Sunset Canyon was platted at 3.5 homes per acre with almost 25 acres of desperately needed commercial property. Please keep it that way. Current and existing future residents of the area are living in what is defined as a food desert. The nearest healthful food is over 10 miles away. Only if the 24.9 acres of commercial space are required is there a chance of a grocery store opening in the area and other stores filling in to support it. 5 acres is a joke. The Board of Supervisors has already given up the 15 acres of commercial property in the Veneta subdivision just north of Sunset Canyon so that more homes can be built. If you cede 20 more acres of commercial land, What will future generations say about your wisdom or ability to be farsighted? As residents and voters, we are asking you to support the future of Hidden Valley. Say no to greater density and no to less commercial space. Please vote no on these proposals by Sunset Canyon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Eileen. Robin Davis.
Good morning, Chairman, Board, and staff. My name is Robin Davis, and I live on Warren Road in Hidden Valley. I am here today to oppose the increase in density and the decrease of commercial space in these two cases. There is nothing appropriate about this rezoning. We come to you yet again today begging to keep our lifestyle, but it does not seem to make any difference what we say. We are constantly being told it's the right of the property owner to do what they want. What we are dealing with here are not property owners. They are investors buying land, rezoning it, and selling it to make a profit. Think all the signs you see around the county for Peterson. Then the developer comes in to build. The investors are not here to live, work, play, raise a family, or even retire. They are there for profit only. They could care less what we residents who live out there think. We get run over and our property rights trampled with each new development and case. When do the current property owners that live out there currently get a say in how our neighborhood is developed? When do our rights come into play? What about our lifestyle we choose being systematically eliminated in favor of high-density housing? We have been telling you all along the city people are going to come in and try to change our way of life. And here we are, the newer development, already complaining about the country and trying to change the way we live, when they were the ones that moved into our neighborhood. We speak at P&Z meetings and board meetings to no avail. We come to you with emotional pleas or technical and legal angles that address the lack of infrastructure. We talk about that it's a desert and water is never a given. We talk about the dangerous 347. We talk about the roads that cannot handle more traffic. At this point, nothing seems to work. The developers with their slick consultants and smooth-talking lawyers and their army of city people are storming us with little regard to what we think in taking away our country lifestyle. This not only affects our way of life in Hidden Valley, it affects the entire county of Pinal in many departments, but there's no time to go into that here. The message that is being sent to the residents of Hidden Valley and Thunderbird Farms is that we are irrelevant and expendable. We get mail, phone calls, and text messages all the time asking if we want to sell our property. We are not blind, and we can see what is happening. The developers think that it will be easy to buy us out and make us move for a future proposed Interstate 11 that will bulldoze its way through our valley. What you call progress is not progress to us. It's us losing our homes and our way of life. I call on the county to deny the increase in density and the decrease of commercial space in these cases. Keep the current zoning and protect the citizens who already live there. Thank you.
Okay, Deborah Warwick.
Deidre.
Oh, Deidre. I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's Deidre. As stated, my name is Deidre Warwick. I live on S Trail in Thunderbird Farms. I don't have a prepared statement, and if you'll please bear with me, I'm not actually a public speaker. But if you would like to come out and ride a horse with me so I can show you what a beautiful community we have, I can talk to you individually for hours, and I can talk to and I can expand upon the issue that is at hand with us here, right, with the commission, with the proposal of increased density and decreasing the commercial side of it. I look at this from the aspect of an environmental impact. And I would implore you and I would suggest that an environmental impact study be done before any of this is ever considered. And whether it's legal or whether it's not to do it beforehand, I would implore that that environmental impact study be done on our behalf. on behalf of the community moving forward and the generations of the community. Second of all, we have an ethical and moral obligation to look at this from an environmental aspect. We're talking air pollution, we're talking, you know, I'm going to throw this one out here just because you're going to laugh at me, but that's fine. Site pollution. Okay, have you ever given consideration to site pollution? As I ride along our community ditch banks, and I enjoy what our community has, when we are forced into a densely populated community, that all goes away. I can't enjoy riding along the farm fields and smell the roses that are growing in our community, looking at the cotton as it's blooming, smelling the alfalfa as it's being freshly cut. And with the increased density, we lose all of that. We get sheets in windows. We get unsightly things to look at and enjoy. And the reason why we moved out into this community to begin with was to enjoy our community. So I implore you to not allow the increased density and to continue to keep our commercial space as it is at 25 versus 5. I thank you for your time, and I appreciate your thoughts to this matter.
Thank you, Deidre. Mary Ann Toohey.
My name is Mary Ann Toohey. I live on Mayor Boulevard in Maricopa, Thunderbird Farms. I bought my first property. What?
Oh, sorry. No. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I wanted to thank you guys for your service as well. I forgot that part. I bought my first property in Thunderbird North in 1997. I became a real estate agent in 2006, a broker in 2008, started the Maricopa Real Estate Company in 2008. So I've been there a long time, and I've seen it develop from the ground up. Don't want to talk a lot about real estate, but I will say that most of my customers now are really concerned about this growth and development because we are a horse property area. I'm a horse property specialist. I have people that come specifically because of that, and seeing the changes that they're seeing driving down Papago Road with the thousands of homes that are being built is very concerning to them. But I really want to talk about common sense, and the first question I have is, where does the water come from?
We're not
the
able
ground.
to answer that question.
The ground, right? We can't say
Global
how
water.
much is there. Global water, right? But it comes from the ground, and it's a limited commodity. And I know Global Water says they have the water to do it, but they don't know. I see wells drying up all the time. I see wells that are drilled that cause another well to go dry. It's not a guaranteed out there, and we've already got 12 to 15,000 homes being approved and built out there. Where's the common sense in making sure that we do have enough water to supply to them before we keep adding thousands more? And just because Global Water says they have enough doesn't mean it's true. There's no way to know. And I want to ask also what the realm of responsibility of the board is for our public safety. Because we have a death trap on Highway 347, and it's not just you guys responsible, but the city of Maricopa, all of the apartments, all of the houses. We have thousands of houses coming in. And why can't, in common sense, we let the infrastructure catch up before we keep adding additional homes to our area? And lastly, the comprehensive plan. That's like our Constitution, and changing or modifying it should be done with the utmost care and with the citizens, not the corporation and developers at hand. So I hope you make your decisions accordingly, and I thank you again for your service.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Donna Johnson? She had to leave? Okay. Kelly Hoffman?
Hello. Good morning. Thank you guys for all of your time and attention to all of this. My concern is I live on Val Vista Road, so I am not very far from this subdivision that they're planning. The plan, I had to jump through a number of hoops to add a guest house to our property just this year, and came through all of you. But the difference that I had to do, for one, and didn't really meet approval, and then they had to jump through the hoops and do different language and different things that had to go on, and that was for one and a partial home on 3 acres. So I don't understand the double standard for a large company then coming in and just being able to put as many as they want and gradually add more and more, where the single person out in the community, which is what America is all about, we're all supposed to have this voice, that we should be able to have a say in these things, that I had such a different experience than what's happening here. Those are my thoughts. I hope you guys will consider each of us as important, and I'm thankful for you guys.
Thank you. And Lori Fuller.
So I have some handouts. Oh, I meant for them to be able to look at them. Oh, okay, sorry. Lori Fuller, Thunderbird Farms. I think I'll speak first on the commercial area. What I'm handing out to you is maps that are printed out from the approval from the 2003 Sunset Canyon. Oh, good morning, Supervisors. Sorry, I forgot that. So that's the approval from 2003, the black and white one. The colored one is off the developer's plan submitted 2024. And I really encourage you to look at the two sets of roads. If you look at Val Vista from 2003 and you look at Val Vista from 2024, the only difference is the new Val Vista comes in off 347. The old Val Vista came in off the side. Val Vista is going to be bigger for sure, but we're 21 years down the road. Surely the developer could have expected that in 21 years, some roads, and Val Vista was marked as a super parkway. Surely the developer could have anticipated that a road of that marked as a super parkway would need to get larger. My other comments about density, commercial, is the major canal that he is so concerned about is 380 feet. It runs along 347. This is a floodway. This is a tributary of Vico Wash. Vico Wash is one of 4 watersheds protected by the federal government that changes require the Army Corps of Engineers. I'm not sure how all of a sudden this is a surprise that it's going to affect his development. Regarding commercial, at planning and zoning, the applicant said 2 things. He said large commercial isn't interested in being that far out of town. And then he said, we can't build this 24 acres of commercial because the large people won't come out here. So what is it? And I want to talk about developers, talk all the time about landowners' rights. I want to know, what about their responsibilities? What about their due diligence? That canal has been there. It's beside 347. It's 380 feet wide. Why is it a surprise to him that it's of significance? Val Vista has been marked as a super parkway. As you can see if you're looking at the maps, The Val Vista change is not that big, but he is saying the Val Vista change is so significant to him that he needs more houses and he needs to take his commercial from 25 to 5. Please, can I talk about density just for 1 minute?
I'll allow it.
So that's commercial. Density. The second map I gave you, as you're surely aware, is all the developments in the area. So Sunset Canyon, right south of Sunset Canyon is McLean Ranch. It is coming up before you guys very soon. And I know you guys are so busy you can't keep up on what's upcoming out there, but we can. So you've got Sunset Canyon and you've got McLean Ranch. They're asking for changes from 3.5 for up to 7 homes per acre. And this isn't what worries me. Back in April, we were invited to an open house for a development called Sienna. Now, Sienna's open house was shut down by the fire department at Action because so many residents came out to protest, and they had the open house in the casino of all places. We don't even know how many people showed up because we got kicked out. So all of a sudden, Sienna, they're not talking about Sienna anymore. They're talking about Sunset Canyon and McLean Ranch. They're trying to get 7 homes per acre so that when Sienna comes before you guys, Sienna is 1,004 acres with 4,762 homes. They are trying for up to 18 homes per acre at Sienna. So
Okay.
I am worried that if you pass this, what comes next is even worse.
Okay.
So please vote to deny this increase in density, and please keep the commercial as it is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time, and sorry I went over.
No,
And I do appreciate you guys.
thank you, Lori. Okay, is there anybody else who would like to speak in regards to these? This young lady right here. Remember, just your name and general location where you live.
My name is Judy Portok. I live in Thunderbird Farms. And what I noticed was when he put up the list about when they had the meetings and how few people show up, I'd like to say that there are a lot of people out there that are very hardworking. They have jobs. They don't have time to come to a lot of these meetings. And the majority of the people out there don't want any additional houses other than what has already been approved. You have the issues, we're going to have traffic lights. The traffic is ridiculous. The people that are already living in some of these places, they don't even abide by the stop signs. They don't worry about the farm vehicles that are driving on the roads. They don't abide by any of the traffic laws as far as the double lines on the roads. And so I think it's just inconsiderate. A lot of inconsiderate out there. They think that just a bunch of people out there that were just a bunch of, hicks that live out there. And I think that's the attitude that a lot of people have. But there are a lot of people that would like to come to these meetings that don't have the time. And when you try and follow everything that happens throughout the county or the state in regards to a development, it becomes a full-time job. You know that. It becomes a full-time job. You can't do it. So thank goodness for the people that have come here and spoken, standing up for this. But a lot of people just do not have the time, but they do not want what is being proposed. So please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Dawn, and I live off of Mare Boulevard in Thunderbird Farms. I've never been to anything like this, so please bear with me. I literally had to take off work today, and I'm losing money to be here to save my land and save our lifestyle. I'm going to come at this as a little different. I am a mom. I have one child. My child was born with cancer. He will be 24 Saturday. He is the youngest patient in the state of Arizona to ever receive chemotherapy to this day, 24 years later. I wanted my son to grow up and be a hardworking part of society. I did not want him to be on welfare. My son's visually impaired from his cancer. And I told him, you have to work hard. You have to earn everything you get. And my husband and I, who have been married 33 years, want to pass on our property to our son, who works very hard. Our son has overcome many, many obstacles. They told us he would never drive. They told us he would be a wallflower. They told us he would be an underachiever. He was the group commander for the ROTC for Maricopa High School. Military won't touch him. He drives. He does mounted shooting. That's shooting on horseback, and competes. Just won the M2 level for Arizona. He works hard. He loves this lifestyle. We all do. Bringing in all these people, I almost lost him and my husband because of the traffic that's on the 347. Both of them were in intensive care 6 years ago during Thanksgiving because of all the things moving in. Like she said, they do not abide by the traffic. People cannot be here because we work hard out there. We're not welfare. We take pride in our place, and we work very hard. Why don't you send out information to everybody that is out there, a survey that couldn't be here today, and stand up for our rights and for our families? Please take that into consideration, and how we want to work hard, how we enjoy, how we live. They said that they're putting signs out that people don't have, we were here first. There's already a gentleman who hosts roping competitions, had to take his lights down because it bothered the new housing development. We were there first. They were told, the gentleman said that, there's smells, there's noises, there's livestock. Well, they ganged up on him. How's that right? Thank you, and please send out a mailing to people that are at home, that are at work. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Odell, Odell. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there any others from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Nancy Chabai. I live in Thunderbird Farms. I'm going to look at it in a little different perspective. For the most part, I'm on our 3.3 acres with horses, 4 horses that I bring. And I'm by myself for the majority of the time. My husband works away. I would like to ask how, if there is more people coming per acre, how is it that we are kept safe? Will there be more patrol cars coming out to us because there's more people in that area? The chances of crime are higher because there is a bigger density of population. How will we stay safe? I feel very safe on our property because there isn't as many people. I know my neighbors. We all take care of each other. So my question is to the developer, how is it that by bringing in more people will we stay safe? And I appreciate all of you guys listening to our concerns, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any others from the public that would like to? Yes, sir.
Morning, Chair, Vice Chair, board members. My name is Gary Bativier. I live in Papago Buttes Ranchos number 2, which is adjacent to Thunderbird Farms. This application created another major comprehensive plan amendment is but the latest in a series. Over the past 2, should I start over? All right. This application for yet another major comprehensive plan amendment is but the latest in a series. Over the past 2 years, several other zombie developments, as I like to refer to them, have come before the board. In most cases, these plan amendments are for developments that were approved in many cases as far back as the early 2000s. Many of them had a stipulation that they had to break ground in 18 months or the zoning could revert back to its original classification. The property owners and developers have been sitting on these approvals for 20 years. They can put shovels in the ground today as we speak. But no, what they have already is never enough. The vast majority of western Pinal County is zoned 3.4 homes per acre in the comprehensive plan. The majority of the existing communities in the area are one home on 3.3 acres or more. In this case, the applicants requested changes for R7 zoning, literally twice what is recommended in the comprehensive plan. Values such as rural atmosphere and environment, sense of community and uniqueness that are expressed in the comprehensive plan, even if it is only a guideline, can only work for the benefit of the residents of Pinal County if this board conscientiously applies them as a part of the decision-making process. The applicant's request for R7 will be at the expense of commercial acreage. This reduction from 25 acres down to 5 is solely for the purpose of increasing the density in an area where an increase in density at this level is totally inappropriate to the surrounding area. The loss of commercial acreage in the Santan community and the unintended consequences that have resulted should serve to remind the board of the folly of reducing commercial acreage. Turning northwestern Pinal County into a bedroom community serves only the interest of the developers at the expense of the residents and related infrastructure. I ask two things of the Commission today. First, deny the applicant's request for the zoning change. They're sitting on an approved pad in compliance with the zoning for the area. That should be enough. Secondly, I respectfully request the board ask the P&Z Commission to reinstate the stipulation that the applicants must break ground within 18 months in all cases and use the word shall instead of may. That stipulation was to prevent abuse of the development process. This amendment request is a textbook example of why that stipulation was put in there in the first place. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is Ken Lepper. I live in Thunderbird Farms on Esch Trail. First of all, I'd like to commend Chairman Goodman for protecting the First Amendment. Secondly, I'd like to say this is informational, not confrontational. And the reason I say that is because you're hearing some of the same things over and over. You're hearing them because it's feedback to important issues. For the official record, I offer the following comments. Staff recommended that the rezoning and removal of the commercial parcel not be approved at the Planning and Zoning Committee. The analysis was very well done. Initially, the commissioners appeared open to the staff recommendation after hearing public comments. A single statement by one commissioner, same I've heard here from time to time, turned the tides with something like, "We cannot forget the rights of the property owner," in that tone of voice. After some short discussion, the rezoning request was approved and sent to the Board of Supervisors. During that final discussion, a voice was heard saying, the Board of Supervisors are going to pass it anyway. This is the second time the commercial zones have been removed in favor of the developer. Santan Valley residents are on record as saying they overbuilt and did not plan for adequate commercial land. How many more exceptions are going to be made and why? If property owners' rights are ascendant and not to be challenged, except by the county, then why do we need a planning and zoning commission? Silly, isn't it? But what about the effects, immediate and long-term, on the rights of the surrounding community? Common theme, but it's important consideration. Our community admitted that the 2003 zoning was certainly within the rights of the owner. The answer is that both state law and county planning and development statutes require full consideration of surrounding properties, especially rural areas. Instead, high-density housing appears to be ascendant to other property owners' rights and lifestyle. As currently proposed, we are opposed to approval of the applications. Our community members will be closely monitoring compliance with all staff stipulations. They're very good. We will monitor. Recently, a complaint from Amaretto Creek was made in regards to lights, noise, and dust from a nearby arena that had been there for decades. It was in full sight of all homeowners before they purchased their home. It's a popular place for locals, snowbirds, and Canadians to have roping, riding, and other equestrian activities. We have several others in the area whose rights are being violated. Other issues, water continues to be a huge issue. ADR and the Dwids are still arm wrestling over supply. A recent test of wells in one of our irrigation districts initially revealed a drop of 6 to 8 inches in the water level in the aquifer. More testing is in process. Traffic speaks for itself. Funding for improvements for 347 appears to have dried up, and the road rivals Los Angeles at some time periods of the day. In closing, under law and statute, we have a loud voice too. No development with less than 1.25 acres per dwelling unit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Okay. With that being said, I will close the public hearing at this time for items number 10 and 11.
Can we call back up the applicant?
Yes. Yes.
So
let's do it.
I would like him to address the water and sewer concerns, and then I have a follow-up question.
Chair, Supervisor Surtee, with respect to water and sewer, there are agreements in place with Global Water, who is the provider in the area up to the north, that at the appropriate time, water and sewer will be extended down to this site. With respect to the comments that I heard relative to water and the availability of water, we know that's been a very hot topic for a number of years within not only this area, but throughout the entire state. The only thing that I can tell you is I have to rely on the experts. I myself am not an expert when it comes to water. I know that I'm grateful that they are there so that when I turn on my faucet, the water comes out. And so I would defer to Global or even the county and those people as to the projection of water and availability. But I know that today there's certificates of convenience and necessity. I know Global is in the process, I believe, of extending theirs. But that there are binding written agreements in place concerning the delivery of that to this particular site.
And Global is who does the city of Maricopa, is that correct?
Through the chair, Supervisor Surtee, that's my understanding, yes.
And do they have a contract with Canal Water as well?
Through the chair, Commissioner Surtee, I'm not entirely certain. I know in other jurisdictions where I've taken agricultural land and have had it developed into a residential subdivision or something else, that typically what ends up happening is any historical water rights that our property, or in this particular case, this property is entitled to, part of that is that they are then extinguished, and to the extent that they are transferred back, they are then transferred back to the provider.
And then I'd also asked about sewage.
Through the chair, Commissioner Surtee, again, I would defer to Global and their plans, but I know, I believe I've read the agreements that have dealt with water and sewer being provided to this site by Global.
And then my other question is, so you get Thunderbird Farms here and your project's over here. Can you even drive from here to here?
Through the chair, Commissioner Surtee, if I may get my presentation back up.
Don't both communities, won't they have to go north to get out? They're not even connected, I don't think.
Let me.
Val Vista Road, I think, will connect them, won't it?
The road that goes north and south would be
the only one that goes there.
So, Chair, board members, this is probably as good a regional exhibit as I can get to kind of show what's in the area. You see our site outlined in red with white. That is our project site. Thunderbird Farms, as I indicated, is to the west, not east, along as it would be indicated there: White Road, Papago Road, Ralston Road, and then Thunderbird Road as you get further there. As I understand the way that development is to occur, obviously 347 is the most direct and convenient way, albeit it's a very congested roadway, for people to exit, to come to and from our site. I know that the real draw as this area, and I know the residents talked about it, but the real draw is going to go to the east towards Casa Grande. Just right off the edge of this map, Casa Grande has a large employment area that is underdeveloped, and I think there's plans for it to continue to grow. And so the push is going to be to head to the east with that development to occur. As you can see from the map, as we go to the west, we start to run into, I don't know that I want to call them mountains, but I don't know that I want to call them hills. But they're geological structures, let's just leave it at that, that exist on the west side that really kind of impact access from our site through the Thunderbird Farms Hidden Valley area, off to the west, and then north around the west side of the Auction community. And so as we look at it from a circulation standpoint, and you can see here why Val Vista Road cuts through the middle of our site, and if I, with permission, we had no desire for Val Vista Road to cut through our site. That's a 150 feet wide roadway that cuts through the middle that we are solely responsible to construct. As this board is aware, in typical conditions, I construct my half-street improvements. We fought tooth and nail, as staff can attest, to keeping Val Vista in the 2003 alignment. But we were not able to win that argument and had to acquiesce to it being put through the middle of our site. And as I explained earlier in my presentation, you can see why, because of its conflict with the Auction community as it heads to the east.
Thank you.
I think we can all agree that we can see the reason, because we're dealing with grit right now on some issues with Hunt Highway. And I would imagine this is a way to avoid that to any degree. Okay. Supervisor Miller, could you talk a little bit more on the water? I mean, you're the guy from our county that is, in fact, you're flying out here.
I'll put it at a little bit higher level, but the global water in that area is a designation, and they have been designated with a whole lot of water for the future. And they haven't, I mean, it is a number that is at the end, but it's, I think the last I heard, they've maybe used up 10% of their designation. And there's thousands and thousands of homes that are platted, these zombie subdivisions, plus the future of Maricopa plans on using it. And they have indicated that they'll be able to serve all of those homes in the future. They are unique in that they do take their wastewater. That's why they make it a package deal, because they recharge their wastewater, put it back in the aquifer to help stabilize the usage. I don't believe they have canal. If you say canal, or you're referring to the CAP,
yeah.
I don't believe they have CAP on this site, but Global is large, and they may have CAP in other areas where they use it.
My reason for asking that is they would not have to drill new wells to service this. They already have the water existing.
Well, if you have CAP water, you have to have a water treatment plant, and they don't necessarily have that. They will drill new wells, or different wells, or they will shut down a well and relocate a well. But they have literally scientists and people, they work on this all the time, and the Department of Water Resources is not going to let them overburden the aquifer. I mean, they're not going to write a letter and say they will serve an area and then not serve the area, because that's a huge lawsuit, and they can't afford that. So, I think this site is being farmed. Is it not? Is this site being farmed at this time?
Chair Supervisor Miller, yes, it is.
Okay. So even with the number of houses you're going to put on there, the houses will use less water than the farmers using now. You know, I mean, that's a given. So that's another reason I think there's always been a push to turn these farmlands, and I'm all about trying to protect the ag community as much as anybody. What will happen in due time, the more productive lands will turn into, will retain their ag status, and the less productive lands will turn into rooftops. If you look at the next 50 years, I mean, that's just kind of the way it'll go. I don't know if that answered your water question.
Yeah, it does help a little bit, because the next question I have is, that's in the Pinal AMA, correct?
It is.
And so the farmers themselves are having to make quite a bit of adjustment, correct?
Yeah. I mean, and the Maricopa Stanfield Irrigation District is in this area. They draw from this area. And they even, I mean, I talk to them on a pretty regular basis. They have wells that have gone down, and they have wells that have gone up. But some of that going up is because of the recharge that Arizona Water does, and some of the recharge that the Gila does as well. So they monitor these levels all the time. And so, I mean, we're not going to run out of water in 100 years. I can tell you that right now. The modeling shows that, and we're safe on the water. What everybody's working on, and trust me, I'm headed to Las Vegas today for a Colorado River conference. I was in the governor's office yesterday talking to their water department about managing water. We're trying to create policies for the future on how we're going to manage in the future, and we're close, and we have a lot of people pulling the wagon in the same direction. So, I would tell everybody that it's not being overlooked. It's not. Everybody understands how important it is, and there's hundreds of people working on the solution, and there will be a solution in due time. And that I'll just say. I hope the counselor's not too worried about all the things I've said, but that's kind of the status of the water. I mean, I know the people at Global Water. I know the people at Arizona Water, and I know that they're not going to say they can deliver water and not be able to deliver the water. They can't do that.
Okay. Supervisor McClure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, listening to all this, I hear road system, you know, the traffic and water, commercial, planning and zoning concerns. When I look at, I mean, I see what you're doing with the road system. I would like to have a work session on the comprehensive road systems in this area. Not from you, but in general, to see what's going on with our comp plan. I'd also like to have a work session on water, so that we can better understand that, so that not only just for us, but to put it out to the public to show what's going on. I know a little bit about geology, and I'd like to see a geologic survey of that area. I know there's some general ones, but I'd like to see one to show where the wells go dry, where they're good. I'd just like to see that. The road system is a concern. I mean, I see where Val Vista has been routed across, and I see what it does, and that's great. Commercial, that's always an issue. The one lady talked about, you know, putting a market there. I can tell you that a supermarket of any significant size, like the Bashes or the Fry's up in Maricopa, takes a 5-mile radius with 15,000 homes, 3 people each, to survive one market. So a supermarket coming there would be probably out of the question. Now, you might get a mom-and-pop store or something like that, but you're not going to get a big market. But this leads me back to like Santan Valley, where, you know, for years and years, the board and planning, and not us, I'm not going to put that blame here, but just said, oh, you want to build a home? Go ahead. And all of a sudden, you've got all these homes. There's no roadways. You've got no commercial space. Santan Valley, you talk about that constantly. Well, not, you know, not nagging, but just you talk about it.
It's nagging.
And so, you know, in our comp plan, I've talked about this before. It looks kind of like a paintball target. You know, it's just got splotches of this is density, this is commercial, this is whatever this is. I'd like to see a more detailed plan of this area. And I know that the growth will move to the east because that's the density growth area going over toward commercial. But I would like to see some of these things in more detail rather than large generalities. And, you know, again, we talk about this project site. Here's McLean Ranch. There's Midway. I know there's a whole bunch of stuff down 347 that's going to come in years. So I'd like to see how we're going to move these people through. The traffic on 347 down where they are right now, down Hidden Valley, that's not much. I mean, it's 4 lanes wide, and it's great. It's when you leave Maricopa to go north to 10, that's the problem. So I'd like to see how we plan in the future, in the next 20 years, 10 years even, to move people around, because that's going to be a big issue in this area. So, you know, with that, I mean, and then there was planning and zoning concerns. I've seen some of the letters that have come through. And they say, oh, we're just going to pass it. Okay, that's really not acceptable. The Planning and Zoning Commission should do a lot better job and should work harder at what they're supposed to do before it comes to us. And so I would like to, quite honestly, remand these two items back to Planning and Zoning to have a better discussion, that they have a better discussion and work out some of their issues.
Chair, Vice Chair, if I may, we actually did have a robust discussion at the Planning and Zoning Commission. There were 2 hearings where we had on full hearings, where in September we had, again, a full hearing. I made a full presentation at that hearing and had good discussion amongst them relative to it. At the kind of the end of that commission meeting, I requested for a 30-day continuance to address some of those concerns that we had heard. In particular, trying to provide some amount of commercial on this property. If you look at our site plan, the plan that was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission did not have that 4.37 acre commercial that's at the corner of a local street in Val Vista running through. The Commission understood the impact of the constraints that I mentioned with respect to Val Vista Road cutting through, with respect to the its impact on a 20-acre commercial in this particular area. I'm well aware of the chair's comments relative to commercial, having had
You've been here a few
discussions.
times about that.
I have. And so I'm aware of that, and we are certainly sensitive to that discussion. And I would tell you that my client, if given the opportunity, would love to have Val Vista Road go back to where it was, because a commercial development on the corner, we want commercial to be viable and successful. And as we all know, commercial is viable and successful. Highest and best is on the corner of 2 major roadways for visibility, exposure, and all of that. And so that was the discussion at the first one. At the second Planning and Zoning meeting in October, again, similar discussion. Similar residents spoke up to express their concerns. A lot of the same residents that have spoke today spoke at both Planning Commission hearings, the 2 that we had. With respect to the comment of the board's just going to approve it, I certainly pay attention and take copious notes as I do that. I do not recall hearing that from any of the commission members as I sat there both days that, oh, the board's just going to approve it. Now, I could be wrong. I'm not going to stake my life on that, but my recollection is that there was never such a comment made by any of the commissioners. But again, if I'm wrong, I'll gladly admit that in that instance. And so,
and to interrupt you, I've not been able to go back and look at the minutes, but I've been told that that's what happened. And at times, I just have not had the time to do that as I received the information at a late date. But that's concerning.
Chair, Vice Chair McClure, I certainly respect and understand that and believe that that is within the purview of you guys to be able to make that decision. The reason I raise that is I don't know, nor do I believe that remanding us back to the commission will. I had 2 hearings, full hearings on it. And again, similar things that were said today were said back then, and I don't know that might be the highest and best use, but we'll certainly defer to the wishes of the board.
And a further comment, I mean, I understand the density issues because markets change, but I also see the density bringing more people, more stuff. I think it needs to be a better, larger, more precise, comprehensive plan because this will all turn out to be like Santan Valley and we'll have the same issue in 10 or 12 more years.
So, Chair, Vice Chair, if I may, again, I apologize. One of the things that we've talked about doing very, very publicly with some of these residents is I at this time represent the property owners for McLean Ranch. I represent the property owners for Midway. Although not shown on it, Red River, which is on the the east side of 347, kind of Ak-Chin border on the north, I think down to Lewis Johnson Drive, I think. There's the same property owner owns and controls most of those properties. And so as we've already expressed to a couple of the neighbors, our plan is to sit down with them. We want to sit down, obviously, I know that Supervisor Kavanaugh is on his way out, but I know that the next incoming supervisor is here as well. And so it's our intention, and I think I can say this with respect to kind of the two large property owners down there, that we do plan on having those discussions in the future so that residents are aware of what's going on. And we will continue to work with staff on the transportation issues. And I think those are important, good things to do, and we will do it. As it relates to this specific site, again, I don't know that much discussion is going to change much of anything. Not to say that it couldn't, but we would request approval today.
Okay. Supervisor Kavanaugh.
Mr. Chairman, all my questions have been covered.
Okay. Supervisor Miller had some additional.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, because I do want to touch base on the commercial. I'm looking at Maricopa's general plan right now on their stuff, and man, they have a lot of multifamily. They have very little commercial, and they have some industrial surrounded by residential, which is kind of unusual, but the commercial, and I had a meeting with some folks yesterday about the planners are really re-evaluating the commercial side of things because of Jeff Bezos and everybody buying stuff online. The inventories are very low in these stores. The retail side of things is looked at completely different now than it was even 3 years ago or 4 years ago. It's just the traffic of people coming into a store and purchasing something is different. What there might be more of is restaurants because you can't get that through Jeff unless I guess you could use DoorDash or whatever. But my point is, I would tell you the planning community is really trying to get a handle on what commercial is going to look like in the future. And it's going to be smaller. It's just going to be because they can't rent the stuff they have out there. We've got a mall in Casa Grande that's probably only about a third full and with a lot of empty spaces out there. So anyway, I just think commercial is one of those things that if there's a need, if there's a market, these people build. They know, just like you said, how many rooftops they need to make it work. And they study that stuff closer than anybody. It's almost a science. So, and there is a lot of residential planned just north of this site you're looking at. It's a lot. It's crazy. If that's what you think.
Yeah. But so the other thing that they look at, Fry's, for instance, in Santan Valley, they're on Bella Vista and Hunt Highway. They've outgrown that area. And they're looking at a new location, and they're needing at least 30 acres is what they're wanting to be able to put that anchor, and then they could bring in other business from that. Of course, they've expanded their services, what they do at Fry's. They've got the Super Fry's now, and that particular location isn't as comprehensive or as big as some of the other ones. So that's a factor. And back to, and you alluded to being beaten up before, and I continue to hammer on that because there was a lot of issues and questions that were brought up in regards to making sure that the commercial property is there. I think it's inevitable that the homes are coming. The homes are coming. Let's be real. I grew up in East Mesa, and I grew up around orchards, grapefruit, oranges on Higley Road between Southern and Baseline. And it was a horseback heaven for us. We were able to ride along the canal and do all those things, and it's a whole different ballgame today, that general area. Where I'm at now in Santan Valley, I live on 3.3 acres, just like many of you that are sitting in the audience. And it's been saturated with homes. Right across the street is our ditches have been buried now. My grandkids can't even inner tube down the ditch anymore because it's buried under the ground. And, it's unfortunate to a degree, but at the same time, I'm older now. And it's a lot to take care of at 3 1/3 acres. The good thing is that the town of Queen Creek, I think, has done an exceptionally good job of preserving a lot of their rural communities with riding opportunities through, they've got trails and things of that nature through the creek itself that a lot of people that are able to ride their horses on. We do that. To the comment that was made about sewer, we as a community in Santan Valley did not have a very good provider of sewer in our region for years. That they weren't able to clean it up enough to where they could put it back into the aquifer or even use it on the farmland. And I speak from experience of taking some of that water at one time and farming. It was not clean at all. But the point I'm getting at, with a new provider that's come in and cleaning up the water, they're able to use that water in much of the farming operations that surround that area. They're still in operation today. And they're getting the recharge credit, Supervisor Miller. And they're still farming that goes on in my community, even to this day. And a lot of that is they're taking and recycling a resource that is so vital. Everybody has made comment about we live in a desert. And we've got to be conservative on how we use our waters. That's a major resource that's vital and important to our livelihood. I do look at your project, and I do appreciate our staff pushing back on making sure that these, that's something that since I've been in office, and I think, Steve, you guys started to do it even before I came in office, was that any of these developments that was going in, they were responsible for the infrastructure and the impact that they were going to have on the traffic, correct? And so you look at what we've done here, we required that 100-foot span of a road to be extended and trying to avoid some of the potential problems that are going to be coming down the pipeline. Things that we've already experienced and we're learning from issues that we have along the highway there. So I do appreciate what you're doing there, and I didn't realize that there were so many different areas that needed to be pulled back on because of the water, the flooding issues and things that you've got to maintain a certain amount of retention to hold the water. And I didn't realize it was such a big, vast area right there that is needed for that. But I agree with Supervisor McClure in that, and this is something I know that we've talked about and that we are doing. And Leo, you've been working on this to where we do a comprehensive plan reevaluate our strategic plan that we have in place. And we were waiting till after the first of the year so that our new board member could be a part of that process. He lends a lot of value because he's been on the city council there in Maricopa and being able to address some of these things. But then the other part was we had a discussion about bringing our planning and zoning in as well in that discussion, and so that they can get a better feel as we look at this. Bottom line is we're trying to avoid the issues and the problems that we've been having right now that we're having to deal with Santan Valley because of the growth and how it happens so fast. Had they been incorporated a long time ago, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, more than likely. But that never happened, and so we're left with the brunt of it. And I'm for one that don't want to see that happen again down the future. But back to my whole point, I'm looking at this project and what's being presented. I do see, and I'm looking at some of the other areas, and it's comforting to know, Brennan, that you're part of the planning process with working with the landowners in that area, because I think there needs to be a much larger, broader perspective. I remember sitting down with a bunch of home builders and developers, and we were talking about our park systems that we don't have in the Santan Valley area. And the subject of incorporation came up, and one of the developers, the home builders, made a comment about how, why would I want to help support a municipality if I've got to deal with another layer of government? And all I did was I sat back and I just looked at him and I said, the issue is that you have built this area so vast and so quickly that we now have almost seven high schools. And we do not have any public amenities for these kids to be able to even swim. They have to travel somewhere else if they have a swim team just to compete, let alone train. And so those are some things that, on a regional perspective, we really need to take a broader and much better outlook on this. Like you said, Supervisor Miller, from a higher level, addressing all of these things. I don't know if it'll change what you're doing right here, to be honest with you, because I'm looking at some of this other commercial area, and to somebody's point, and I've seen this happen, that when you rezone one area a particular way, like what we're talking about doing here, and then the next guy down here says, well, you took this amount of commercial out, you should do the same here. You took this amount, and that's been happening left and right in Santan Valley. And we don't know what kind of impact that's going to have because a lot of apartments are coming in that area. But we'll look at that. That's part of our strategic plan that we're going to look into. But with that being said, I'm just looking at this, and the overall, I think if we can bring all those other landowners together and really look at this from a broader perspective, I think that'd be helpful. So that's where I'm at.
Chair, thank you for your comments. And I would tell you, even as recently as last week, because I know that there was an announcement of I believe it's the PRTA recently, and so even in light of that announcement, my client contacted me and said, hey, can we go back and fight staff to put Val Vista back on its alignment, because this client wants the commercial. There is no desire to get rid of it. If we could keep 24 acres, knowing that it was in a good location, viable, that was going to be successful, I'm telling you, my client would absolutely say yes. But on this particular site, again, with Val Vista cutting through the middle, that's through no choice of ours. I just as if you throw a boulder into a pond and watch the ripples go, we cannot control those ripples. And so with the boulder of Val Vista, and I appreciate one of the neighbors' comments, it's a major parkway. Yeah, it is. We were always planning, if you look at when we filed this, we were planning that it would go in its original alignment back under the 2003 plan. And yet it's not. And so we need to assess the reality of what that is and the ripples that then come for it. The second thing, I know Supervisor Miller has a comment, but the second thing is what I've found in my short 19 years of practice is that planning becomes better when not only do you have staff invested in it, which I know staff is. I've had lots of discussions with your Development Services Director, Brent Billingsley, and so I know that there's sensitivity to this area as well and the planning of it. But when you have a collective group of staff, obviously policy direction from the board, and you've got stakeholders that are interested as well, and I know that I do, that helps to make a positive process whereby a lot of the concerns can be dealt with. If you look on that, I know, again, this case is not before you yet, but I know that there is 20 acres planned within McLean Ranch, that it will be where Val Vista comes out and connects to the 347, an appropriate location, the corner of two arterials. And so, I could speak at length about that, but I hope the board understands, what I'm trying to convey, and I know I hear you guys loud and clear. So I'll shut up now. And
Supervisor Miller. Well, that's a first.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Because the challenge on the Val Vista alignment is the reservation, is it not?
It is.
I mean, that's just simply what it is.
That's a given.
And I just don't see them giving up that farmland for a road to go through. I just don't. I mean, even if they thought it was a good idea, I just don't see it happening. Yeah, and then the McLean Ranch down below that, and then right next to that, and that alignment is the Red River. I mean, Red River, we amended one of the first years I was on the Board of Supervisors, and I've heard that it's coming back again for some more amendments, so I don't know. Yeah, I'd like to see the Val Vista alignment better, but I don't know.
What can you do?
Do we want to pause and see if there is another alignment? I mean, I don't know. Is that where we're at? And I hate to do that because there's been a lot of time and money spent in this thing.
Chris?
No.
Chris? I meant Mr. Chris Wanamaker.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Yeah, Chris Wanamaker, County Engineer. Several other Chris's probably in this room. Well, what you see on this map is that green dash line that goes east-west. That is the Val Vista Road alignment as shown in the Pinal County Regionally Significant Routes for Safety and Mobility Plan, which was approved by this board a number of years ago and amended a couple of times. And to Supervisor Miller's point, the crux of the problem is the Octane Reservation, and having an east-west major regionally significant corridor through the reservation is just not feasible, practical, or really even possible. So that's why the road swings through this development like it does, crosses the 347, and then continues east through Red River and then on. So.
And I appreciate that because, Chris, I think that's one of the biggest problems we've got over in the Santan Valley area is we don't have enough roads that interconnect east, west, north, south, whatever. And so I think you've addressing that issue so that we can avoid that, and by bringing in Val Vista right there.
Mr. Chair, a quick
Yes.
question. So, who owns the property to the direct west of the project site? Anybody have any idea? The green spot.
Next to Amarillo.
Right here. 111K.
Chair, Vice Chair, I'm not aware of who owns that. That's the clients that I've been talking to. I don't know who owns that.
What's that?
Could be, I don't know. It's not one that I've ever had any conversations with anyone.
Okay.
It also
Okay.
Cantalia. Oh, it's Cantalia development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay. Sangeet, I have a question for you. The letters that were all sent out, I mean, the law requires so many within such a distance. Was all of them sent out to those that were affected by this?
Yes.
Is with the amount of responses that you've gotten back, is it going to require a supermajority?
This does not require supermajority because within the 300 feet, I mean, the property owners that have responded do not fall in that 300 feet.
Okay. And how did they respond?
Well, most of them is owned by the developer itself.
Okay, okay. Probably favorable if they were going to respond. They're not going to weigh in. Okay.
The same thing.
Supervisor Miller, did you have any more questions or
No, I just
comments?
I guess I want to hear from Brennan if he.
From Brennan?
You know, that whether he's okay with this.
Okay.
Back to square one on the transportation.
Go ahead and ask him.
And then, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to speak into the microphone better. But I think I went back, you're about 4 units to the acre on this new plan.
Chair, Supervisor Miller, yeah, the difference is about 294 lots, an increase of 0.5 DUs an acre.
Yeah. If you went back to the 3.5, which is the original, the unit is sitting at 3.5, decreases the number of units by, I don't know, about 300. About 300. Yeah. I know that's a lot, but that maintains the density. That the density is not changing then. But and maybe with a new alignment of Val Vista, you create a larger commercial site or something.
Through the chair, Vice Chair Miller, if I may get my presentation back up.
And I know that drainage is, I mean, if you look at the old plan, they were using the whole subdivision to run that drainage through. And you look at the original plat, all of these, this was how they were going to get the water out of there.
Yeah, and so Chair, Supervisor Miller, this is the current drainage map. This is what we're faced with. I can't speak to what D.R. Horton, then Continental, was looking at 20 years ago when they entitled it. My guess is that it's similar but likely different, given the passage of time and given the improvements that have occurred in the area as farming has continued to operate over a period of 20 years. That will gradually change the drainage patterns. 347's been there forever, and as you can see on this diagram, it acts effectively like a Great Wall of China.
Yeah.
That poses as a dam, and that's why you see all of the drainage stacking up on both sides of it. And so as we look at Val Vista, and this is the south side of our development, again recognizing that, I respect what Mr. Wanamaker said, but Val Vista is we understand, it's going to come out of our development, and it's going to come out here. The other problem that we have on the south side is we've got WAPA easements, and you see a picture of the big poles that run along our south side. WAPA, as Mr. Wanamaker knows, and I know, is getting increasingly challenging to work with when it comes to rights-of-way and dedications and crossings. I'm experiencing that on Ironwood, on a number of developments that I'm working on with clients on over there. And so when I look at the south end, again, where we want to locate commercial to be viable, my drainage, I just don't see Val Vista on the south side doing that. And then again, as we look on the north side, again, even the reduction in units, I do not believe will increase the efficacy of a larger amount of commercial acreage. It does not have the visibility. It does not have the exposure to the traffic. I mean, Val Vista, it's going to carry a lot of traffic, but as I know, I've discussed before, this group. Mid-block commercial, which effectively this is what this would be for this acreage. no works.
I totally agree. I totally agree with you on that. On the commercial is going to be a challenge no matter what, because you can't get any visibility. And you look at the old plan and where they had the commercial, to develop that site with that drainage all in that area, that would be so expensive. It would be crazy.
You won't get up.
But I'm just wondering if we can maybe shift that commercial that you have.
So
or add the housing unit acreage to the school site or something. I don't know.
Well, so
maybe make the school site some retention.
Well, the school site's there because it existed on the prior plan. Again, as we look at it, and what's happened over the passage of time is, what buyers want, what they want, home buyers, is a little more efficiency. They're okay with smaller lots.
No, I understand.
They're okay with open space. In fact, the previous plan had 15% open space. We've increased it to 20% open space on this plan as you look at it. And again, I appreciate that we're kind of talking about a bunch of things here. One of the things that I heard loud and clear that I don't think we've touched on is lifestyle. And I appreciate that there's a concern of lifestyle. When I look at this site, again, I've got a bunch of farms around me, and then, as you can see on this exhibit to the west, is where Hidden Valley Thunderbird Farms are, considerable amount of miles away. I believe the discussion on the density, I believe the discussion about affecting lifestyles is a different discussion if I'm right next to Thunderbird Farms in Hidden Valley. And so that's why we had proposed, this condition. This was the best way that I knew how.
Well, that looks like, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I mean, that looks like something that happened when, I know my admin moved to Maricopa when it was like 16,000 people in the whole bloody valley, and they had the same issue. Oh my gosh, it's dusty. I mean, this is nice. But back to your question, back to the thing on school, and Supervisor Miller brought that up. This is in the Maricopa School District, Unified School District. Is this area in that? I can't remember. It's been so long.
Chair, Vice Chair, I don't know if it's in Maricopa or if it's in Stanfield.
Okay, so I was curious then if that's the proposed school site. Has the school district been, they would be notified of this change and the ability to accommodate a number of students, because there's like 24% of the people that would move to this area would be students. So, from recollection. So, are they interested in a site like that? Is that enough for them?
Through the Chair, Vice Chair, I have not had discussions with them about that and about the interest in this particular site right here. Again, knowing what was on the prior plan and knowing that elementary schools are about a 14-acre site, that's why it's here. It's in a similar location. So one of the things under this PAD that is typical is it does allow some flexibility for us to differentiate some of the housing product within it. What is on there of the 1,500 units, that's a maximum amount that can be built. We are not into full engineering details. We are not into that level of analysis as we look at it to stand up here and say, yeah, all 1,500 units are going to be built. That's what we believe is there and we believe makes sense given what we're hearing. But as we get into engineering details, it could be at the end of the day that it actually is a little bit less. I don't know that. That's, as the board well knows, the expense for that undertaking at this point is extremely considerable. And so in the process that we are, it's just, again, dusting off entitlements that are 20 years old, making all the accommodations for everything that we've already talked about thus far.
Well, Mr. Chair, I know like in the development that I live in, that when we moved there, it was undeveloping as 2008 occurred, correct? I mean, it just stopped, but there was a big area in the middle. They said, oh, that's going to be a school for Oracle. That's going to be great. Ooh, small school. And then Oracle said, we don't want that. Are you kidding? We don't want that thing. And also then they put more houses in. Oh.
And it's the same way.
Yeah,
we've got a subdivision there, Parks, off of Combs and Gansel. That's similar. There's 14 acres in there that was designated for a school, and the school district. Yep, that's what I was looking at.
So
back to what Miller was saying.
Yeah,
is there a way you can put the two together, the two, and make a commercial piece.
Well,
but I don't know if you can do that because you've got to talk to the school districts, right?
Yeah, but let's just to go down that path. Let's say the elementary school site goes away. My number of units is not going to increase above the 1519 that is shown on the plan. Just because that school site goes away doesn't give me the right then to increase the number of units that I'm seeking approval for today. If I was to exceed the 1519, I'd have to come back and make a request for it, for that increase. But even presuming that goes away and I shift some of the units around, then that goes back to kind of where we've been having discussions for a while now, and that is what are the conditions under which we are going to have a viable, successful commercial development. And as this board has alluded to today, you got to have density. You got to have rooftops. It used to be in the development cycle that commercial would build and then residential will follow. That's kind of gone the other way now, where with the commercial pie shrinking and the number of anchors that are out there in the marketplace, even some of the mom and pops, the smaller stuff that have used to be prevalent in a number of shopping centers has dwindled down. And so when you've got a smaller pie, you have to be a little more strategic and looking at this through a commercial developer's lens, which is the lens with which we must look at it. You see, again, no visibility, no exposure internal to a development. And the discussion at the Planning Commission focused on, hey, look, we believe that there would be an opportunity for some neighborhood commercial services. And that's why I continued it from September. That's why we looked at it and added this piece here in as best a location as we could. There was discussions just to vet everything out. There was discussions that we had with staff of how about putting it on Green Road in Val Vista. Logical choice as you look at it. But again, I still have similar constraints of drainage channels, not as large as the one along 347, but 74 feet and 66 feet. The other thing that we look at when we look at the regional traffic patterns, Green Road, while it is an arterial street, is effectively a collector street because it dead ends into Ak Chin and will not, based on our traffic study, carry the volume of traffic that John Wayne Parkway does, that some of the other ones does. As you look, again, Lewis Johnson, Miller, and John Wayne Parkway, great corner, great traffic. That's why you see that amount of commercial there. Same thing with the Val Vista Road and the 347 as it cuts through McLean and as it affects Red River as well. You start to see where the commercial makes sense. And so the commercial services that the residents of Thunderbird Farms and Hidden Valley want, I've got to have the density around it, and then it's got to be appropriately located. And there are better located, better situated commercial areas that will be a lot better than anything I could do within this community.
Okay.
Can you back up? I'm sorry. Can you back up 2 slides there? I think where it shows the larger picture where the other commercial is.
Oh yeah.
Right there. So McLean Ranch is going to have the same issue you've got there with 300 or however wide that channel is up side of 347. They're going to lose a bunch of that commercial space, and probably on the other side in Red River they're going to lose that because of drainage issues.
So
and down south. I'm not trying to pick on you too hard, but I'm just like
no. What I do know, and again, I appreciate we're kind of convoluting a lot of things because I don't want to talk about cases that aren't in front of the board. But the question's been asked, and so as we look at it, and it is under review for right now, this is a portion of McLean Ranch. And so what you see there, because the drainage pattern is a little bit different on McLean than it is on this site, you can see that they've rerouted the drainage channel a little bit differently through their site to be able to pick up the commercial. And again, that's a function of, as you well know, moving dirt, where you got to do it, cost of exfill, bringing fill in and stuff like that. That's a
cost of the bridge.
Yeah, that's a lot. And so again, I know this case isn't before you, but I know that in McLean, where they're planning on Val Vista cutting through and coming out, and then you see it tying into Red River on the other side, where there's commercial that, again, not before you, but I do know a little bit of the history, and that there are two commercial parcels that will bifurcate Val Vista Road that I'm told via private instrument, I believe, cannot go away. At least those are the discussions that I've had. Again, I'm not into those plans.
Well, I don't want to get off the subject too far, but that was an observation.
No, and I think it's important that we look at these things as we're talking about one particular project, but it's good to know that's the reason why we're in the situation we are with Santan Valley, is because nobody really took a broader look at what was going on. And that's the type of what you're talking about,
That's what I've been asking for, yes.
Yeah, and Chair, Vice Chair.
I think this right here helps out a lot, what you're talking about.
And that's exactly was my point. And my point, we talked with, as we've mentioned today, we did talk with Ken. I'm sure Ken would avow that we've talked with them, and I know that my Tom Bilstein, who helps us with neighborhood outreach, Tom has had conversations with Laurie Fuller about, hey, look, we do represent the area more, and we do want to sit down we do want to sit down with you. As I mentioned, we want to sit down with the new supervisor when he gets in to be able to talk about it, because we agree that there needs to be a regional approach and look at the entire area. I just don't know that look will significantly change what we're doing here on Sunset.
Well, I'm looking at a lot of the obstacles that you have on that particular site. For me, that's what I'm looking at more than anything, is the obstacles that you're having there. And I do appreciate our staff really looking at trying to look ahead on our roads issues and the safety and the travel time. I think to your point, Casa Grande is a hub for. It's going
to be a work.
Commercial.
Yeah, it's
industrial.
It's an industrial area, it's an employment center itself, because everything lends itself to that. And I think with Maricopa planning and doing some things, I know the city's working on some ideas and things with the rail running through their area. I know that we're doing the same thing over in Santan Valley. So, okay. Any other questions? Anybody? Sorry. Public comments already been, we've already had the public hearing. Okay. Supervisor Kavanaugh, was there any more questions?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. And I think we addressed, I know that you kept notes of people and their concerns and things they've talked about. I do know that. I did too. I know that we have a new sheriff in town that will be taking office in January, and so a lot of the public issues regarding traffic control and things of that nature, he's already starting to address, and looking at the need for more officers to help and assist in that area. So the main thing for me was making sure that this area addressed the major things, the infrastructure for one, being the roads. And then somebody brought up water, and having an experience of not the water itself not being adequate enough, the sewer treatment, And what this will do, this will actually add back to, they'll be able to recycle that water and maybe even put it back on some of the farms around there. Is that it? Okay. So look, we're going to take each one of these by number. We'll start with item number 10, and we'll vote on them separately. So do we have a motion moving forward?
Mr. Chair, I move that we deny the increase in the density, the rezoning of item 10.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, that motion fails. Do we have another motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item 10 as presented with one stipulation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Item number 11. Public hearing and discussion of disapproval of ordinance number 2024 PD-008-23. Do we have a motion moving forward?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve as presented with 21 stipulations.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
One opposed. Okay. Those two items pass. Okay, item number 12. Discussion, approval, disapproval of donations of 12 Baker racks considered as a surplus from our recorder's office at the Pinal Votes building as follows. The 3 Baker racks, so on and so forth. And who do we have here? Angeline, would you like to speak to this?
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. Angie Woods, Director of the Office of Budget and Finance. Before you is, like you said, an item for donation of 12 Baker's racks to 4 different school districts. Mary C. O'Brien Accommodation School District, Eloy Elementary School District, Stanfield Elementary School District, and the Coolidge Unified School District. They're surplus items that are no longer being used by the recorder's office.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
Just a quick one. Did we stop baking in the elections department? Are we cooking? I'm not even going to say it. Never mind.
Yeah,
okay.
No. Dana is here. I think they were using them for storage, but storage locations, those types of things. But they're no longer using
They
it.
held the trays.
Okay,
they held the
that's
trays
right.
for the incoming ballots. Yes.
That's right. I remember seeing them. Yes. Okay. And we don't have any more need for them right now. So.
Correct.
Okay.
I believe in the new votes building that has changed. The way in which they store those ballots has changed.
Okay. Yes. So this item does require a unanimous vote. So we'll probably do roll call on this one. We don't have to? Okay. So do I have a motion moving forward?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve item 12 as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 13.
Gee, I'm not sure.
Kind of reluctant to do this one, but this is to extend the chairman, Mike Goodman's appointment as chairman until midnight on Wednesday, January 8th. This will allow our new board member to come in and be a part of the process there. So any questions in regards to that? We have a motion moving forward then.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item 13 as presented.
A motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, approved. Item number 14. This is in regards to our vice chair, keeping him until midnight, Wednesday, January 8, 2025. Any discussion? We have a motion moving forward then.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve item 14 as presented.
Do we have And a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. I know, that was an aye, correct?
Yes.
There's an eye for an eye.
That's what it sounded like.
Okay, item number
15.
15 requires us to be in executive session for 15 and 16, so if I can get a motion moving forward for those two items. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I move we recess the regular Board of Supervisors meeting and do something with executive session. I don't know. Yeah.
Let's move into it.
Move into executive
We
session.
have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are now in executive session. Thank you. Okay, item number 17, discussion approval, disapproval of settlement agreement and release for Blake King claim dated August 21st, 2024. Any discussion on this? Can I get a motion moving forward?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve item 17 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Did you say?
And by the way, Supervisor Kavanaugh did not rejoin us, correct? Okay, thank you. And we are adjourned. Elvis has left the building.